This man literally owned the popular franchise for Highlife for decades. E.T. Mensah, the king of Highlife, playing his heart out in the late 1950s.
Highlife is not just music, it is Ghana's musical memory. Before independence, before radio stations, before global streaming, there was rhythm, there was storytelling, there was community, and from these elements, Highlife was born. Highlife grew from Ghana's coastal towns in the 19th century. These towns were cultural crossroads. Traders, missionaries, soldiers, and sailors passed through them regularly. They brought instruments like guitars, trumpets, and brass horns, but Ghana already had a rich musical system, which was traditional drumming, complex polyrhythms, praise singing, and ceremonial music. What makes Highlife special is not that it copied foreign sounds, but that it absorbed them and reshaped them. Over time, Highlife would become a symbol of modern African identity, a soundtrack of Ghana's independence, the foundation of Afrobeat. Remember, Afrobeat without the S. And then the blueprint of Afrobeats, Afrobeats with the S. It has changed form many times, from acoustic, orchestral, electric, digital, sampled, and streamed, but its heartbeat never stopped. This is the story of how Highlife evolved, sonically, culturally, and globally. Highlife began in informal spaces, which were palm wine drinking spots. Palm wine was affordable. Fishermen, dock workers, and traders gathered to drink and talk. Musicians sat nearby with guitars. Sometimes the guitars were imported, sometimes handmade. Palm wine music had a relaxed tempo. It did not rush. It allowed spaces. Here are key features that shaped early Highlife. Guitars as a drum. Guitarists used finger-style picking. Instead of strumming chords, they plunked strings into patterns that copied traditional drum rhythms like the akan, palongo, and adoa. This created rhythmic melody, which is a signature of Highlife. The call and response. The singer would sing a phrase, the crowd would respond. This was rooted in traditional African communal music, and the music was also participatory, not just performance. Social commentary. Lyrics were mostly about love, betrayal, migration, colonial life, humor, and satire. Palm wine music allowed freedom of expression. Maritime influence. Sea shanties and Caribbean calypso rhythms influenced chord progression and melodic phrasing, but Ghanaian musicians made it their own. Palm wine music was small in size, but big in influence. It planted the rhythmic and melodic DNA that every Highlife generation will inherit. By the early 20th century, colonial military bands trained local musicians in European instrumentation. Trumpets, trombones, saxophones, clarinets, snares, drums. These musicians learned European marches and ballroom music, but when they performed outside military settings, they infused African rhythms underneath the Western harmony. This was revolutionary. Brass band Highlife had tight arrangements, section-based orchestration, strong downbeats, dance-friendly tempo. It became popular in elite social clubs, which is how the term Highlife likely emerged, referring to upper-class entertainment. But here's the important shift. Common people loved it too. Dance halls opened, local orchestras formed, The sound moved from colonial elite spaces to everyday Ghanaian celebration. Brass band Highlife was powerful and polished. It represented sophistication. Musicians began arranging music more formally. Songs now had structure, intro, verse, instrumental, breaks, chorus. This era professionalized Highlife into something different from the normal palm wine music that everyone knew. In the 1940s and in the 1950s, Highlife needed leadership. That leader was E.T. Mensah. He led the Tempos Band, one of the most influential Highlife orchestras in history. Mensah did three major things for Highlife. He standardized the sound. He refined arrangements. Horns were synchronized. Rhythms were tighter. Songs were structured professionally. Internationalized Highlife. He toured across West Africa. Nigerian musicians were inspired. Highlife spread regionally. He connected music to national identity. As Ghana approached independence in 1957, Highlife became patriotic music. It represented modern African pride, confidence, because Highlife became the sound of a new nation. Under Mensah, the genre matured into polished, exportable sound. The 1960s brought electricity and transformation. Electric guitars allowed musicians to experiment with faster riffs and louder performances. Organs and keyboards expanded harmony. Bass guitars added groove depth. Small bands became practical. They were cheaper to manage than large brass orchestras. Studios like Ghana Film Industries Corporation improved recording clarity for vinyl production. Radio spread Highlife nationally, and musicians began blending jazz chord extensions, rock tones, funk bass patterns. Yet traditional polyrhythms remained central to the Highlife rhythms. The golden age of Highlife was alive. Dance halls were packed. Youth culture embraced modern fashion alongside modern sound. Highlife symbolized progress at the time. By the 1970s, Highlife was no longer just dance music. It had become musically sophisticated. Bands began experimenting with complex arrangement. Bass lines were no longer just background support. They became melodic drivers. The bass moved in conversation with the guitar. It walked, it bounced, it responded. Drummers layered traditional African rhythms, rhythmic cycles under Western drum kit patterns. This created polyrhythmic depth. You could count one rhythm with your foot, but hear another on the guitar, and yet another on the percussion. This layered rhythm is one of Highlife's most important contributions to modern African music. Guitarists began playing sharper, more syncopated riffs instead of long sustained chords. They used short rhythmic patterns that locked tightly with percussions. This technique later became a core feature of Afrobeats production. Horn sections also evolved. Instead of just playing harmony, horns began playing counter melodies. Trumpets and saxophones will answer the singer in short bursts. Highlife was no longer just smooth ballroom music. It was groove-centered, rhythm-driven, and highly technical. Across the border in Nigeria, musicians were watching closely. Artists like Fela Kuti studied Highlife structures. Early Afrobeat without the S, borrowed Highlife's horn laying and groove-based rhythm sections. Fela Kuti later infused jazz improvisations and political lyricism, but Highlife's blueprint was foundational in the starting of Afrobeat. Meanwhile, Nigerian Highlife bands developed their own variations, adding Igbo and Yoruba rhythm influences. The genre expanded regionally, becoming a West African identity marker. Highlife had crossed borders. It influenced Sierra Leone, Liberia, and even parts of Central Africa. By the late 1970s, Highlife was no longer one fixed sound. It was a family of related styles, all built on rhythm, melody, and syncopation. The 1980s brought economic hardship to Ghana. Political instability, inflation, and limited resources affected the music industry. Large orchestras became expensive to maintain. Paying 10 or 15 musicians regularly was difficult at the time, and recording studios struggled to import analog tape and maintain equipment. As a result, Highlife had to adapt or risk fading away. Technology became the solution. Electronic keyboards entered the scene. Synthesizers would imitate horns, strings, and bass, all from one instrument. Drum machines replaced full percussion section. Instead of live drummers playing layered rhythms, producers programmed beats in devices. This changed the texture of Highlife. The warm, breathing sound of brass was replaced by sharp, electronic tones. Drum patterns became more precise, sometimes less fluid. But this shift also made music more accessible. A small group of musicians could now produce a full band sound. Production costs dropped. Touring became easier. The digital Highlife era was born. Some traditionalists criticized it. They felt the organic soul was fading, but the younger audiences embraced it. Synth brass created deeper, low-end frequencies. Dance floors adapted. Highlife survived, not because it resisted change, but because it embraced technology. This period proved something powerful. Highlife is not defined by instrumentation. It is defined by rhythm and melodic conversations. As economic conditions tightened, many Ghanaian musicians migrated to Europe, especially the United Kingdom. London became a second home for Highlife. There, Ghanaian artists had access to better studio equipment, more stable electricity, and stronger distribution networks. Producers refined digital Highlife into a cleaner, radio-ready sound. Synthesizers became smoother. Drum machines sounded sharper. Vocals were mixed more clearly. This London-based Highlife was designed for diaspora communities, which were Ghanaians living abroad who longed for home. The music became memory. Producers also began experimenting with R&B influences. Some tracks incorporated smoother chords, progression, and slower tempos. Highlife expanded emotionally, not just rhythmically. This diaspora period was crucial. It kept Highlife alive internationally at a time when local production was limited. It also positioned the genre for global fusion later. Highlife had now become transitional. By the early 2000s, a new African sound began rising globally, Afrobeats. But beneath its modern production, Highlife rhythms were alive. Producers began sampling old Highlife records from vinyl, classic guitar riffs were looped, horn melodies were chopped and relayed. Afrobeat producers studied Highlife structure like mid-tempo groove, melodic bass, and conversational vocals. Artists such as Wizkid, Burna Boy, Sarkodie integrated Highlife guitar patterns into chart-topping records. If you listen closely to modern Afrobeat songs, you would hear palm wine muted guitar rhythms that trace directly back to the 1960s Highlife band. Even the relaxed vocal delivery style, which is conversational, melodic, rhythmic, all of those mirrors Highlife tradition. But what has actually changed? The production. Cheap hi-hats were added. 808 beats, bars replaced live bass guitars. Digital plugins replaced analog tape. but the groove, the swing, remains Highlife. Highlife did not disappear. It became embedded inside Afrobeats. Today, Afrobeats dominates the chart, from London to New York to Lagos, and at its core, Highlife lives. We are now in the streaming era. Music is consumed differently. Songs must capture attention in seconds. Platforms like TikTok reward short hooks. This creates a new challenge for Highlife, a genre known for long instrumental intros and layered arrangements. Can Highlife adapt again? Many people will ask this question. But the answer appears to be yes. Modern Ghanaian sound engineers use advanced software and AI-driven tools to restore damaged analog recordings, remove tape hiss, enhance vocal clarity, rebalance old mixes for modern speakers, and vintage Highlife tracks are being remastered for Spotify and Apple Music audiences. At the same time, young producers are blending traditional guitar licks, indigenous percussion samples, trap drums, and electronic bass. This creates new Highlife, a hybrid of past and present. Another shift is happening, which is global collaborations. Artists across Africa and the diaspora are reconnecting with live instrumentation. Horn sections are returning to studio. Live band sessions are being reintroduced into Afrobeat production. And there's a growing desire for authenticity. So the future of Highlife may lie in balance, which is to preserve the groove. Highlife has always adapted without losing its identity. And that adaptability may be its greatest strength. So the short answer is yes, Highlife will definitely survive because of its adaptability. Highlife began with a guitar under the open sky. No stage lights, no microphones, no global audience. Just rhythm, melody, and community. From those palm wine gatherings along Ghana's coast, a sound was born, one that would travel through brass bands, independence celebrations, vinyl records, electric revolutions, digital experiments, and global streaming platforms. Highlife has survived colonial rule. It powered a nation's independence. It adapted through economic struggles. It crossed oceans with migrants. It laid the foundation for Afrobeat. And today, it pulses inside Afrobeats. When we hear the layered horns of E.T. Mensah, we hear confidence. When we hear the revolutionary expansion inspired by Fela Kuti, we hear evolution. When modern artists like Burna Boy and Wizkid fill stadiums worldwide, we hear Highlife rhythms reborn in new forms. Highlife teaches us something powerful. Music does not survive by standing still. It survives by remembering its roots while moving forward. The guitars may change, the drums may become digital, the studios may use AI, but the groove, that unmistakable swing, remains. Highlife is not just Ghana's musical past, it's Africa's sonic foundation. And as long as there are stories to tell, dances to celebrate, and rhythms to carry identity across generations, Highlife will continue to evolve. Highlife will continue to travel, and it will continue to live. Because rhythm is memory, and memory never fades. If you like content like this, please don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment below. Let me know which artist you will want me to cover next. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next.